All right, can we call to order the meeting of the Southwick Board of Appeals on November 14th. A few minutes after 7 o'clock. This meeting is being carried over Zoom, so it will be recorded video and audio through that, and there's also backup audio recording just in case something happens with that. We in attendance tonight, we have Mike Parent, Paul Gregoire, Chris Mastriani, and Wendy Cordero. Mike, Paul, and I will be the voting members this evening, since there's just three of us here. Absent is thank you, Bill List and Con Stapleton. Did you sign the? Did Paul sign the minute?
I haven't signed anything.
No. Okay. We have a little paperwork to get through here.
So what is that name up there?
He must have stopped his audio, I think. Thank you. Yeah. Minutes from the last meeting. We'll review the minutes for the meeting from October 24th. It'll just take us a few minutes to go through that and get those approved.
It might be that if you just click on me or whoever the person is that was there, that might, yeah, there you go.
Hi, you guys.
Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Great. How are you?
Oh,
I know.
yeah.
At least everybody will be
It's a
awake
balmy
that comes up
30,
here
what are you
instead of
talking
falling asleep. up
Yeah,
here.
that's true.
So what would be our next? Will we have one the week after Thanksgiving?
If there's
28th is our next meeting.
Have you read, Mike, have you read the minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody's read the minutes, and anyone have any comments on the minutes? Everyone want to make a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion to accept the minutes
We have a
of
motion to
October
accept the
24th
minutes and a
meeting.
second. We have a second. All in favor of accepting the minutes from October 24th? Aye. Okay, the minutes of that meeting are accepted as written. I will sign.
Which of the two of these are we doing first?
The 662A.
Yeah.
Wait a couple minutes for that. Is there any business other than what's on the agenda? Anyone have any questions about anything other than things that are not on the agenda? No, folks, no, okay. We gotta- ooh. Any other topics we can, we need to discuss here?
Yeah, the weather, you know.
Here's that original. That you want, I still have my copy.
Have you done any thinking about the 6:30 start time?
I thought about it, but if everyone isn't enthusiastic about it, I'm not gonna suggest messing up anybody's schedule. I don't know. What was your opinion?
Hard for me, but
Okay, then
even
that's
seven.
fine. I don't want to make any impediments to people, getting here or being comfortable about getting here on time. So just something I thought I would throw out, but we can put it in the back of our minds for some other more favorable time. So that's fine.
Check it in.
And I didn't have anybody out there. That's good. With Bill on a work trip, this, it doesn't apply now, but I was curious if a Zoom participation by a member is still considered legal or not. It is. Did it get
Telephone also.
Did it get extended? I know it was supposed to expire and at the end of
Because of COVID. I think
the
even
end of
before
August.
COVID.
I know it had to be renewed. I don't know whether
Yeah.
it got renewed or
Until
not.
June. Until June, right?
Till next June?
No, this June in June.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, so next June, okay.
This coming
That,
June,
I
okay.
was just curious if it officially got extended or not. So,
Even before that, before COVID and all of that, you used to be able to participate over the phone
oh, okay.
and vote as long as you were present for all of the different meetings.
Oh, okay.
So let's say you had heard an initial meeting and then the second meeting was a continuation of that, you could vote
Okay.
over the phone.
Yeah, I know there's a protocol where if you miss a meeting, you have to just catch up with it on the either the video recording or the audio recording, and that makes you legal to do that. So.
Listen to the whole thing. But now you could chime in on tonight,
Right.
wherever he is.
Yeah. Yeah, when he said that he wasn't going to be around, he said he might be able to come in or
Zoom, if we needed him.
but
Case. I mean, it was ironic. One time we had a decision where they actually, it was years ago, sand pit over in Westfield. And it ended up that two of the people that were board members had died. And so the alternate at that time, now you're talking 15 years, they had to call in the alternate.
That was in Westfield.
Westfield, right, in Westfield, which was, you think that the alternate who didn't even vote on that particular
Wow.
thing, but that was the only person that they could kind of go back and get some testimony as to what was said at that meeting.
Yes, we live.
You see where they funded money towards the planning for off of Hudson Road to connect it with Sam West Road over to
Oh,
Tannery.
I didn't see that.
It was in a funding bill, a state funding bill that they're gonna do over the winter, all of the engineering and the planning to connect those two.
Tannery to where? Tannery to where?
Hudson Drive, which is, where the light is by the library.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
gonna go to Sam West,
We'll go to Sam
which is
West.
off of Tannery.
Oh, and then that'll take care of.
The two of those are gonna be connected. So you'd be able to go right through there. I think the long term is that they're trying to make another industrial park back there instead of having one big piece of land. They
Oh,
want to
okay.
do like 5 pieces
Oh,
of
right,
land,
yeah.
which
I
they'll then
didn't hear
sell.
about that, yeah. Okay, let's, our first public hearing tonight is on the topic of 662A College Highway, a proposed self-storage facility proposed by James Boyle of Southampton, Mass. You guys want to come up here or?
On my way, Ellen is going to give you guys a handout. I think you guys already have it, but that's okay.
Could you give both of your names?
Yep,
and
I'm Ellen Boyle,
Oh,
and I'm Ellen Boyle, and that's Jim Boyle.
Your name hasn't changed since last time.
What?
Your name hasn't
It
changed.
has not changed
Very
since
well.
last time. There you go.
Let me officially read the notice into the record here. Notice is hereby given of a public hearing to be held Monday, November 14th, 2022 at 7:15 PM to hear the petition of Jim Boyle for property located at 662A College Highway, Southwest Mass. The applicant is seeking a left side setback variance of 25 feet and the right side setback variance of 25 feet in order to construct a storage facility. Before I let you jump in, we had an informal meeting on this topic on August 22nd. And let me just skim through these notes and I'll kind of give some highlights of what Jim and Ellen are proposing. They're proposing a self-storage facility on College Highway that's between the O'Reilly Auto Parts and a small church in the old log cabin building. They initially were looking for a rear setback variance and 2 side setback variances. After some discussion, we decided that it would be better for them to not ask for the rear setback variance and just request the 2 sides. And I think that there was some agreement on that to make it a little bit simpler. We talked about the distance between buildings and the location of the driveway, some possible landscaping and just like all the things that we would talk about, that we'll talk about tonight on the official meeting. We kind of covered so that we were all a little bit more comfortable in discussing it and making everything official and proper. So would you tell us if anything's changed or where we stand right now?
Okay, hey, thank you guys for having my wife and Ellen and myself back. Not much has really changed. We have developed the project a little bit further and stuff. So, but basically it's still the same that we presented before. So it's an industrial zone, industrial restricted zone. With 50-foot typical setbacks on the side yard, and we are asking for a 25-foot setback on each side. The hardships for us would be the topography and the wetland. So that first, the topography, the challenges there is we rise up 20 feet from the front of this line all the way to the back. So if we had extra room on the side, we could have room to get cars up, maybe in a zigzag pattern if the engineers desire, or just build it a little bit better so we have more room to bring it up there and stuff like that. And that would also help fire trucks as well. The second hardship would be the wetlands. We really can't do anything in the front because the setback is so far back. And if you look on that particular road, all the front setbacks are pretty much where they're supposed to be. And then the buffer zone comes pretty close down in here. So there's almost no area to do anything there. So the only real area to use on this area is in the back. And like I said, it's very challenging, trying to get back there. So we're hoping that if we have, a relief of the 25 feet, it just makes it a lot easier for us to engineer and get the fire trucks and everything protected back there. And lastly, if we do this with the, if we are granted these setback variances, all the other buildings on that road are all here, in the front. And so all the work that we're proposing to do in the back, so even though their setback, is shortened here, we're not really gonna be using anything here that would disturb the other businesses around me. So all this stuff is really in the back. So in our opinion, we think that would be a pretty easy, thing for the neighbors to be able to have, and it'd be helpful to the project and for the town. That's it.
Is the, your little office there, is that 75 feet back from the?
Yeah, that's-
All the lines didn't quite show up on here, so.
yeah, so that is just back, past the 75 feet, and, we're trying to keep it out of the 100 foot, but it's just a little bit into the 100 foot
Okay.
buffer, but it is behind the setback line.
Okay.
So there would be a gate there. Like
Yeah,
the office.
actually, what the engineers had talked about is I had proposed having a gate up here, but what they said was we should have the gate back down here. Because if there's a problem with the gate, we know down here and the people wouldn't have to back all the way back down the driveway. So they'd be able to just turn and come in the office and tell me the gate's not working, so the gate would be down here.
2 gates? Do you need 2 gates?
Just one gate.
And, but that upper driveway doesn't come out, isn't gonna come out this.
So we'd have the gate here. Oh, this isn't a driveway.
Oh,
I think he was
okay.
just showing the 25 feet.
Oh, okay,
No, the gate would be right here, and then you just drive up here, we'd have to talk to the conservation commission about getting through, but the, drive right through here, and there'd only be a fence here. I don't think you really need a fence on the sides and in the rear, because if you walk in, you're not really, what could you, nobody's gonna go up there and just walk in and try to break it, I don't think.
yeah, I think that would be up to you, the way your business is, whether you need that extra security.
Yeah, you'd have to be really desperate if you walk back up there to break in there.
So is there a fence across the front with the gate or just the gate?
Yes. Oh, there'd be, yes, there'd be a small fence here, and then the driveway would be.
What about to the other side?
Well, this isn't really a driveway here.
No.
The outside of the building.
Oh, yeah, there'd be a fence here and a fence there.
Oh, all right, so
What about from the office building?
I'm not actually sure about that yet.
So it's my belief that eventually behind you there. Right now, the town is going through connecting Hudson Drive and Sam West Road. And there's I think the long-term plan is they'll have an industrial park
Really?
behind there that they're selling. Instead of where Carvana wanted to be.
Yeah.
That's gonna be like 4 or 5 lots that they're gonna try to sell to businesses to promote an industrial.
That's awesome. It's a great spot.
So I'm just thinking right now, it looks fine not to have a fence around it. But if they built, connect that land behind you, that may be something you want to consider.
Oh, definitely. So if they open that up and it looked at all like people could come in the back or something, I would just obviously just put a fence in the back. And now that you're mentioning that, maybe what I could do is when we go to the planning board, just talk with them about maybe putting it on the plan and not putting it there for now, but approving it. So if it does come there, I can just put the fence in.
So does the driveway hug the southern line? You kind of pointed with your finger that it goes towards the middle. Where's just show me where the driveway is.
So the
supposed to
driveway
be.
would kind of come up like this,
Oh, okay.
right into here.
Alright.
And it's all very thin right here, so this is only about 10 feet of wetlands all the way right across, but we've done a delineation, it does come all the way across, just like it shows here.
Okay.
But it's only a few feet, like 5 to 10 feet.
And there's no real parking area, you just have access area to get to the building.
I am gonna make, so down at the office area, kind of like my place in Westfield, I'd have 4 to 5 spots out in near the office, so couple customers
Okay.
could come in. Or even, you could park there while you're doing business inside the office and then go up and drive up. But it'd be a staffed office, just like my place in Westfield. It'd be, all the landscape would be beautiful. I think I talked about using the wood guardrail on the driveway going up, that.
How much space is there between buildings?
25 feet minimum.
Between the
and-
buildings?
Between them, yeah, and then depending on what the fire department says here, because they may have a fire truck that would need maybe 30 feet, so. Typically, when we're starting the design process, we call them, find out what they have for trucks and ask them what they need for a turning radius.
I was gonna say, if they have to turn in, there's no way it's gonna happen.
No.
Is there any parking between the buildings?
Well, I mean, you can park, so 25 feet is totally enough, so somebody can be parked and you can drive right by. And stuff like that. So at my place in Westfield, there's always somebody kind of parked, unloading and stuff, and the cars can just drive right back and forth with them.
But you can't park both sides for each building.
That is a
Not
good
with- not with
question.
25
Probably not like side by side. So like if I parked here and got out my door, I don't know if they parked right here, that would be okay. But obviously if they parked back, 30 or 40 feet would be okay.
Or opposite each other.
I
from
thought
each
between
building.
the buildings. Between.
That's
the
what I
buildings.
mean,
There's no
yeah.
Parking between, you only got 25 feet.
Yeah, I don't think you would do that. So if you pulled up and you saw somebody parked there, I mean, you would probably just pull up or pull back or something like that. So they're probably, no, they probably wouldn't be.
So you will not have designated spaces there.
No, designated space. If you pull it, it's kind of like when you, it's a low traffic area, so the average people that might be in our storage places in Westfield at one time is maybe 2. And even on a busy, maybe evening, you might have 3 or 4. It's kind of like a neighborhood. So you start to see the same people, the people wave. When we first opened and we were looking at our cameras, the people obviously knew each other sometimes in passing, just from being there. So it's, I think it's, they pay attention to what other people are doing.
Are there going to be any designated parking spaces?
Yeah. Down at the
Oh,
office.
down there, yeah.
Yeah, there'll be,
Up top.
no, but, since you're asking about it, maybe since it's further up in, like my place in Westfield is all right there. It's all together. This is gonna be a little bit further back. Maybe that's something I should address. So, at this point, they're not, but, how about I talk to my engineers and when I head to the planning board, if they think I should, we will address that.
Yeah, you might have a situation where 2 people come together, somebody brings a buddy to help them move some stuff
Yeah.
and then need a spot for that extra car
Yeah.
temporarily, so.
Yeah, actually, as he was speaking, it started to make sense actually because it is far. Because my place in Westfield, everything is just localized, so my office is right where the storage is. Here, it won't be, so maybe that's possibly a good idea.
Okay. Anybody remotely have any questions or comments?
I mean, just looking from what he had given us before. And I know he said when he goes before the planning board that the plan is to kind of beautify it a little bit with trees and
Right,
shrubs and stuff like that. And that's what you'll see mostly from College Highway is those trees and shrubs and
yeah,
Yeah, so the front area that's not a wetlands will be totally be beautified like that. And as I said, we want to put a wood guardrail going up there. So it just looks more in tune with the area and, it just looks actually more organic than anything. And you don't really need anything there, but I thought it would look beautiful heading up there. And then obviously wherever we can put trees and all that stuff. The most important thing beyond the people renting and all that stuff to me is that it'd be just as beautiful as Westfield, if not more. So, now I have the benefit of doing that, all the same colors, the same type trees, and we can kind of, do the same.
you mentioned color, is there a certain color that you use? I know I've seen the orange of U-Haul and that's probably not a good,
We had tan and like a burnt orange red, or like a
Okay.
burnt red.
okay,
Now, if you painted it green, it would fill in with everything else and nobody knew you were there.
I know, green is good. I mean, I would like to do green actually. But my cousins did that color stuff.
This gentleman had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Andrew Reardon, 23 Woodside Circle, South of Conservation. If you need to file an RDA for that, your plans need to go before planning board and conservation before they come here. You guys can't vote on it. Until they go there, I got a copy of the bylaw for that, because I know there's wetlands up there that affect my properties down on Hudson Drive. But the Southwood bylaw requires you file all three at once, so you can kind of sneak up on the back of the planning board. Like, CVS and Walgreens did.
Yeah, we've had this discussion
I
before,
think
what, you know, what
Salvini
the,
actually
what
is
the-
doing more planning, I'm sorry, I think Salvini is doing the more planning project. And he got put out of conservation last week for just that reason, because he came to conservation first. But you gotta go to all three, you gotta file with all three of them.
well, we.
I think we knew that, or he knew that, but you're telling us this board cannot go before the other ones?
I didn't make the bylaw.
No, I'm just asking you.
So, I mean, Sabrina held us to that last week, that you have to file all three concurrently. It's not a big deal, I mean, just basically bring that to the planning board.
You
and
can't file
do
this
the same thing.
Mhm.
I thought we asked for a ruling from the town attorney
Yeah,
as
we
to the
did.
order, and he told us there's really, because there was a conflict in that some people said that they'd have to make sure we approved it before they even started on the other end. And so they asked the town attorney what the order was, and he said there is no order. And that's the
There's
town
no order for
attorney.
The approval, you're correct, like planning board can approve your plan first. And then conservation, and then, I don't know,
Then you
it's
don't
not
need us.
Sanitation, health department, or whatever.
Hmm.
And each board has their own circle of approval, and wherever the three overlap. But the point is that they have to put the plans on all three desks at the same time, that's all.
Well, the planning board actually has the plan. The planning board is very aware of what we're doing.
Yeah, I didn't know.
And
it
so
came
the
in for an
the
RFP.
conservation commission is very aware of what we're doing also.
Yeah, I haven't
So,
seen the plans in
But
conservation.
John is very aware of what we're doing. I sent him the plan 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
And then, we sent, the plan, or I actually contacted, the head of the conservation commission and asked her if she would meet with me. And she wanted to just meet at the, roundtable meeting with John.
Okay. Yeah, we've kind of come up with this before, and if I remember correctly, they usually point people to us first so that we get the dimensions correct. And then the planning board or conservation commission kind of decide who to see next, but they need us to decide on the dimensional restraints or constraints in order to have them make their decision. For instance, if we force them to push these buildings out more to the street, then the Conservation Commission says, okay, now they're within 60 feet of the wetlands instead of 80 feet. So we set the rules first, at least that's how I remember it. So we will, we'll make a decision on this first, and then the other two will use our decision in order to see how the rulings that they need to make will fit within the limitations that we provide.
Exactly. Oh, no, and I agree. I mean, it's like I said, it's where the three circles overlap is where you can actually build.
Right.
But the point of the bylaw is you're supposed to file paperwork with all three. And I think, like I said, Salvini got this last week. It went, we put them out of conservation. You haven't filed the planning board yet.
Well, it sounds like the discussion is there, whether they've actually filed it on, we can look into this, but I don't want to really choke up the process here without having an official one. But I agree with Mike. I think we've heard from the town attorney in the past that says that it's okay for us to make the first decision. So I think I would like to proceed. I'd rather proceed that way. this doesn't have anything to do with us really, but I'm just curious, what do you use for signage when you,
I was hoping to put a 4x8 digital sign out, that we could, talk to the community with.
I think, yeah, you might just need to check on what the bylaws are. I know digital signs are,
They're not allowed.
well, they're controversial, let's say.
Oh, actually, you know what? In Westfield, I had to agree to, only have, I had to agree to the same message every day. I couldn't change it. So in the morning when I went in, that, if I put on the weather, that was my message for the day.
Just so that you're aware that there is some controversy over
I will,
how quickly you can change the message and colors and racing things across, animations and all that stuff, so.
I'll check with the building.
Yeah.
And people aren't following that now.
You know what? They never do because when I had to sign my paper, so I'm Southampton Road, the bank was on the left of me, and the oil company was on the right. And both of those guys had flashing messages all day long. But I kept mine the same. I told Jay that's how we do it, so.
Any other questions, Mike?
No.
You, Paul?
No, that's just, I think those 25 feet is pretty short. But
Well, yeah, I think the planning board will probably. Well,
if we tell them 25 feet's okay, they'll go along with it.
oh, yeah, but we don't set the distance between the buildings. I don't think we have any jurisdiction over that. Oh, you're saying 25 on the sides?
25 here, yeah.
Well, actually, since we did this plan, when we were trying to do the actual, fit the buildings in, I pulled the buildings back, so there's actually 35 on each side. So we really couldn't even set the buildings to 25. We had to keep them back to 35. And it could even be shorter than that because we might have to have a couple retaining walls. So right now we have the buildings down to that.
Well, if we make
All
it,
right, so 35, that's your variance request is 15.
Yeah, I was hoping to just keep it at 25 though, so just if we have a license for the engineers to work.
You know,
okay. Well, I know,
Thanks for
in
bringing
the
that
past,
to our attention.
or some other things we have going on at the fire department. I think would be okay with the 25 because of some other issues that we'll be talking on the next appeal, but 25, okay?
and he's talking 35, makes more sense to me. I thought 25 was light in the first place,
Okay,
or narrow, I should say. And especially for fire equipment, which we do not expect them to want either. However,
I know 25 was during Westfield with their fire trucks.
well, that's Westfield.
Yeah. As I said, we do this to the fire truck, to whatever the fire truck is. So if they need 30, that's what we would just do it. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't argue, it's nothing to argue about. It's just,
mhm.
it's like a speed limit. You would just, whatever the speed limit is, that's what you have to do.
Do we want to split the difference and say 30 feet? And
I like that.
Thought you might.
Do you think 30, okay?
Not really. As long as you're asking, no. And 35 makes a lot more sense.
You have this drawn at 35 now.
I have it at 35 now.
Can you live with 35?
Okay.
Okay, 35.
Mhm.
All right, so
Change the drawing.
what's the 35?
Both sides.
15, 20. Okay,
Between the buildings, still 25 though. He's reading. He's reading.
Jim,
Excuse me?
He was asking for between the buildings.
You're still gonna maintain that at 25 between the,
I'd like to just do 25. If the fire department asks me to do whatever more, we would just change that.
Okay,
so whatever we do here tonight has to go to the fire department anyway.
Part of the planning board, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, it's part of
right,
the planning board steps.
okay. So we want to make it a 35 then?
I'll go with 35.
Okay. All right,
15-foot variance, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
all right, I'll make a motion to grant two variances to 6628 College Highway for the construction of a self-storage facility. A 15-foot variance on the right-hand side and a 15-foot variance on the left-hand side. Those are the only variances that we will be required for the project.
Did you turn out to be north and south? As well?
It is north and south, yes.
Yeah, so maybe,
So I make that
Oh.
motion. Anyone want to second the motion?
I'll second it.
That's, anyone, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes to grant the two side variances.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And we get free storage in perpetuity, is that correct? We get free storage in perpetuity?
Oh, boy.
You know, I'll make
Whoa,
sure I
boy.
get to take care of people.
Oh, boy.
Thank you guys very much. I'm sure I'll be seeing you again. I actually can't wait to propose the project. We got hopefully a round table next week.
I think there's a shortage of storage. It seems that every one of these places are packed.
Yeah, sign the bottom of it.
You know,
That's what he's hoping for.
Well, so I have another project we're building in Greenfield and we're quite a bit past where we are here. So we're making plans to build it and I call for prices at the surrounding facilities. They won't even take my name for a list. 3 places will not even take my name. So, yeah, it's definitely needed. We're all at Walmart quite a bit.
Okay.
Bring your own easel and everything with you. Boy, you guys are.
I did. My wife's out there. She's got.
Sure, give me a dumb pen.
There's one good.
Well, I don't know, it wouldn't right now. There's 3 here. I guess.
Does you have all the originals of everything that you need? Just for the file? Okay.
Come on.
Mining.
So next,
All the paperwork on one file.
Yeah.
I just want to see if we can get that clarified a little bit more. He's saying that as long as all these plans are put in and everybody has them, is he saying we can't rule on it? Is that what he's trying to say until the other people have ruled on it or?
I don't, he
I
seems to
don't-
implying that you have to officially have
File all
applications submitted to all 3 places. So if if we turn them down, then they've blown all the application fees for all the other ones that they're never gonna use.
Yeah, so many people say they're not even gonna do a project unless they can get it approved ahead of time,
Right.
you know.
Document didn't read that at all.
I'm sorry.
That document did not say that at all. I don't know what his interpretation.
Yeah. Okay, our second public hearing, which is a few minutes late here, is notice is hereby given of a public hearing to be held Monday, November 14th, 2022 at 7:35 PM to hear the petition of Gregory Hamelin for property located at 9 Sawgrass Lane and 9A and 9B Sawgrass Lane. The applicant is seeking an easement area variance of 3 feet, a compacted surface variance of 3 feet, and a driveway setback minimum of 3 feet on each side in order to allow construction of a residential common driveway. Greg?
Yeah.
Yes. Hi, my name is Philippe Cravo. I'm here for that item on the agenda.
Okay. Do you want to make a comment, or did you want to listen and then make a comment, or?
No, I'm here to present. I'm from Arlevec Associates,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
representing the applicant. That's, that's all right.
Not seeing you here, so I.
Yeah, he is there.
couldn't-
He's up there.
He's up in the middle.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm on Zoom.
okay.
Where up
Never
here?
mind. I was looking at the picture so small, I thought you were Greg. Okay, then go ahead.
All right, sure. So good evening. For the record, my name is Philippe Cravo of Arlevec Associates. Here tonight with the applicant, Greg Hamlin of Hamlin Framing. We are here tonight for the variance petition for some setback relief associated with a common driveway to service 2 lots that were created as part of the Greens of Southwick, the west side, which is the Sawgrass Lane, the side that's off Sunnyside Road. And basically there were 2 lots that were created as part of that subdivision, intended to be serviced by a common driveway. Actually, I can pull up a plan. Can I share my screen so we can be looking at a plan?
We actually
Is
have,
it on here?
we actually have
We
it
have
on there.
we have some full-size plans here.
Oh, you do? Yep, that's it. Yep, that's it. Yep.
All right.
Yes.
So that plan that you have in front of you shows some of the dimensional constraints that we're working with. Under section 185:30.1, there are a number of like width requirements, some dimensional requirements that these properties are just shy of making those dimensions. So if you look at that plan you have in front of you, you'll see a dimension along the, let's call it the long stretch of the driveway towards the intersection with Sawgrass Lane, that the width is 27.18 feet. So that's where the 3 foot, the 3 feet of relief is being sought.
What was
for
the dimension?
The required
Yeah.
30-foot wide.
What
Yep,
was
it's
the
towards the
dimension?
front.
What was the dimension on that again?
It's 30 feet is the requirement. It's 27.18 that is existing between the 2 property lines. So that's one item,
Why can't you make it 30?
because those are property lines. Those are lines that were created as part of the subdivision when the subdivision was created. It has 30 feet of frontage. If you look at the property right at the front, the curb.
On an angle, it's 30. but it's-
Yeah, but
Yes.
it's kind of kinked, so it changes it to 27.18.
When this was originally laid out, there was a geometry error. They should have made that 30-foot frontage. They should have made that 31 or 32 feet in order to get the full width, the full legal 30-foot width of the driveway.
For the whole length, correct, yeah.
Okay.
so that's that one. There's a 15-foot wide driveway width requirement under section 185-30.1. We're showing a 12-foot drive aisle, which is more than adequate to, as a driveway to service the two properties. And the last one would be there's a 10-foot, it's the 3 feet on each side. The zoning states that there should be 10 feet from the property line to the edge of the driveway, and we have 7.6. So it's really like 2.4 feet, but just for a little bit of wiggle room, we're seeking 3 feet on either side, just to kind of round
Is
it
it
out.
lot 18 that the shortage is, or lot 15 that the shortage? Both of them?
If that's the common driveway.
Yeah, it's on both sides. So you would need 10 feet on both sides. So we have 7.6. Whereas 185-30.1 states 10. So, this is the way that it was, we've been before the planning. Planning has not, they've approved with the condition that we come before the zoning board of appeals and present the information to you. And hopefully get your approval, but we have been before the planning board. They don't have any concerns, fire, police also, had no comment. So, it's just, we're kind of pinched in between these two property lines, and we have a common driveway to get to the two properties that are at the rear there.
The shared driveways are a pain to start with. In that, well, I'm happy with gravel. Oh, yeah, I need mine paved. How do you work that out? All right, let's say they agree to pave it, and it's done that way. Somebody sells. Guy comes out, he wants no part of it.
It's
what do you
so
do?
there will be an access easement provided, because it will be, technically the driveway is on lot 15, which is the lot on the top of the page that you're looking at, towards the top of the page, which is, let me see, is that the north? Just so I can know, yeah, towards the north. And lot 18, would have a right to access that lot via an easement to share the common driveway.
So in this right here, Paul, which are the regulations, it said a written agreement defining the shared use of the shared parking lot shall be executed by all parties concerned and approved by the planning board as part of the special.
Exactly what I was gonna point out. Planning
Right.
board, doesn't even belong here. This is not a matter for Board of Appeals.
Well,
It's a
so
planning board.
there's a couple things there. The planning board can only waive construction requirements as from a dimensional requirement standpoint, because we've been before them. We tried to go the planning board route, and John Goddard thought, vetted through it thoroughly, and they can waive like construction requirements, which is the width of the driveway, which they did waive the width of the driveway from 15 to 12. It's the dimensional requirements from the setbacks to the property lines that in the width that we would really seek relief from the ZBA.
I have a copy of the decision from the planning board here that I'm gonna address that topic with, just to get it into the record here. There was the findings were made on November 1st, and in reference to that topic, the specific findings, section C, number 2, says the applicant has requested reductions in the required easement width of 30 feet and the required 10-foot setback distance between the common driveway and adjacent properties not served by the common driveway. Said requests cannot be accommodated through waivers and must be sought through the Board of Appeals. So I assume that's why you're here.
Correct.
Unfortunately, that when the planning board makes these decisions, they don't let us know, even though we're referenced in the decision. So I went and talked to John Goddard about it, and he kind of rolled his eyes and indicated how much back and forth that you've done with this. And so I know a little bit of the history of it. So that's why you're here, is because they said you needed to be here. So just one other thing while I think of it is the way the bylaws are written. I think they're mathematically impossible, because it says that
Yes.
the easement has to be 30 feet wide. The compacted area has to be 15 feet wide, and you need 10 feet on either side of the compacted area. So you add 10, 15, and 10, and you get 35 feet. And so that's a big mistake that, that I'm sure a lot of people didn't catch along the way. So that's another reason why you need the parts 2 and 3 of yours, is because the bylaws is imperfectly written. I guess I could be.
Yeah.
So that's
Good catch.
another reason for that. While I'm talking here, I'll also say that I got copies of the opinions of the fire department. And they said, we have reviewed the plans submitted for the special permit on Sawgrass Lane and have no issues with the plans as submitted. So they're comfortable with the 12-foot wide driveway. And also from the police department, from the police side, from Robert Landis, from the police side, I don't see a problem as long as the driveway is marked accordingly for identification during response. So so the police and fire seem to be okay with the 12-foot width of the compacted area. I can see that the reason you put the 7.6 in there is kind of split the difference and balance everything out to make these things comply, well, not comply, but to make the lesser of all the different evils that are built into this. So that's the background that I did on research. So we can get back to the regular discussion.
Well, just what you just open the one page. Just because planning board said, oh, you gotta go to Board of Appeals, there's nothing in the rules that say that we have to do this. All right, that's their opinion because they wanted to get off their desk. The planning board is who accepted all the layout of all the buildings, all the driveways. So this one, they're just trying to slough off and hopefully pin on Board of Appeals. I say no. I'm being upfront with it.
Okay.
Just to kind of address that, I think it comes down to what can and cannot be waived through the planning board process. Dimensional requirements, cannot be waived by the planning board.
But they should not have accepted the plan in the first place.
I mean, it was always the intent, right? So, some of the hardships that we have is like, it was always intended to be this way. It was, an error because of the angle.
No.
There's 30 feet of frontage, but there wasn't, when you turn the angle, it kind of makes the width of that area less than the 30 feet. And even as the chair just stated, some of those dimensional requirements are, even if you had all the minimums, you still couldn't meet them all just based on the math that's there. So we're not proposing something that wasn't always the intention, or something that the people who bought the land or who are moving in weren't expecting. They always knew that these two properties were going to be serviced by a common driveway behind them. And this is just, you know, we're going through the process of getting that common driveway permitted.
It's fine that they always knew it, but these lots should be changed. Planning board should not have allowed these lots, if they knew this was going through, they should not have allowed it, and they did.
Right, they
Did-
did as part of the common driveway, right? So I mean, both of these lots, so one of the lots can, without a common driveway, can be serviced by a driveway through that piece of land, because it doesn't have those same requirements. The other lot, lot 18, which is a southerly lot, has the frontage on College Highway. But, you know, these houses were always intended to be fronting on Sawgrass Lane, and that's how they were constructed. I mean, these houses are, you know, basically almost built at this point.
Yeah, they are.
So we are just, you know, kind of like just going through the process of getting the common driveway. And that's when we ran into these dimensionals, these minor dimensional constraints. I say minor, not, you know, just from a standpoint that, you know, this was always the way that it was intended to be. I know I've said that, but, you know, these, if you looked at the plan, the driveway was shown on the definitive plan in this location. So it was, you know, this is the way that these lots were expected and intended to be laid out.
Definitive plan that was accepted by the planning board.
And all
Correct.
other departments. Greg Hamlin, 143 South Elmira, and the applicant. It was also accepted by all other departments, DPW, fire, police, everybody. Another showing is both neighbors on each side who it directly affects obviously have no opposition to the driveway going through.
Are they here?
They're not here,
Wow.
and no letters or comments to the board. I think that, you know, I built one of their houses, the other one I did not, so I don't have connection to both of them. I think the people that it directly affects by not being here and expressing their opinion.
No, doesn't fly with me. Board, the planning board should have taken care of that in the first place. And the original submission to them, and they approved all the lots and all the buildings, they knew that was going on. And now
With
they're
the
passing it
definitive
off
plan.
on us, I'm
Correct.
sorry. Doesn't belong in this board to start with.
Is the driveway on lot 14 the right dimensions?
Lot 14.
Right. Here's this one. The next
Yeah,
one,
lot
up.
14 is not done yet.
But is
It's a
that
single-
driveway the
It's a
right,
single, it's a single
right?
house. So that wouldn't need, that house wouldn't need this
Where's 14?
appeal.
Oh, way up there.
Did I answer that correctly?
So
Well, if it didn't have the right dimension, you would need to have an
The
appeal.
only reason that we need it on this one is because that cut through is accessing both of them. If it was only accessing lot 15, we wouldn't need this. Am I saying that
Right, that's what I was
rightfully?
gonna. Correct, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. 14 will only service one, it's not a common driveway.
And also 19.
14.
I can come up and show you if you want, with the lots that we're talking about.
yeah, that mark.
Yes, I think.
Yeah.
You know, still maintain it's a planning board issue, not our issue.
Okay, I tend to agree with Paul, and I think we need to continue this to the next meeting, and I'll get together with the town planner and somebody from the planning board to see why they, or get a better explanation on why they sent it over here when it doesn't look, when it seems like that they have the authority to approve it, since they've already, they approved the initial filing of the subdivision. So I'm gonna suggest that we continue it until 2 weeks from tonight.
I think they have to ask for a continuation too, right? Because the clock is ticking.
Okay. Would you like to continue it?
I mean, yes, a continuance to clarify with the planner as to who, I mean, yes, we'll request a continuance to the next meeting 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
So who's gonna sign this? Mr.
I'll,
Hamlin, Mr. Hamlin can sign this?
I'll make a motion that we continue it.
Well, we haven't seen the,
Well, then
Document.
yeah, somebody has to second it. We have to vote on it.
he has to sign it first.
Yeah, just,
I'm just trying to come up with some wording for this. Clarification of. For a reason for continuation, I put down here clarification of which board has authority to approve the common driveway, so.
Hmm.
Want me to- Is that change the wording on it? Yeah. Will be discussed on meeting on 11/28/22. Greg, you want to sign this, please?
Can I read what you wrote there before I sign it?
Oh, sure.
Because I
You can
want,
change
because
it.
it's gotta be the clarification on the waiver of the, how would we word that, Lee? 'Cause
Yeah,
they-
I would, the clarification on, I guess, the authority to waive the dimensional or reduce the
Dimensional.
dimensional requirements.
It's gotta say something about the dimensions, because that's why they kicked it from the planning board to you guys, because they can't handle the dimension part of it.
Which board
so
has
what we're really
authority-
only doing is asking you to approve us studying it.
Yep.
And
I just
then-
want to make sure
yeah,
that what we're studying is clarified.
Yeah.
Clarification of which board has authority to approve common driveway. Dimensions,
Or setback reductions.
dimensions and. Setback. Variances.
Comfortable with that, Philippe?
Yep. Yeah.
Right here?
Yeah.
Print and sign
Just signing.
right here?
Yeah.
Today's the 14th.
14th. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We'll get that straightened
All right,
out.
so
and,
now you make a
So
motion.
that'll be the 28th, I think.
Right.
That's the next.
Okay.
So now we need to make a motion to accept the.
Yes,
continuance.
I make a motion to accept the request for continuation on 9A, 9B Sawgrass Lane until 11/28/22.
I second it.
I heard it.
Everybody in favor?
I,
Everybody's in favor? Okay, we will continue this until 2 weeks from tonight.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you.
Everyone.
figure out that, very good, yeah. No, yeah, go ahead, go
It was rolled up, I just folded it before I got here. Any other?
ahead.
any
Just
other-
as a matter of information. So if the planning board did approve it already, and let's say they come back to us and they say that they've approved it. Now is that up to us then to either approve it, or is it just left in limbo? We're,
Well, I think they should, I think that they should say, we approved the original plan, so
They
we're.
sure did.
We're sticking by what we approved on the original plan.
So they're responsible for having approved it to start with.
Right,
So throwing it over here, say, oh, well, change the dimensions. Oh, I'm sorry.
right. Well, that's part of what I discussed with John Goddard, but I didn't get into who has the authority over dimensions versus construction and all that, so I will get a clarification from him on that and tell him that we're of our reluctance to get involved, and our reluctance to
get involved. Yeah.
fix something that has been, was approved in error in the first place.
Well, I don't think it was error, but
Well, I think it was a geometry mistake. They said, okay, we got 30 feet frontage.
but even that, you said yourself, it would have to be 35 anyway, just mathematically.
Right,
Yeah, so,
okay.
yeah, so they saw it in the original plans, they approved it. Here's
So it
lots
shouldn't-
of land.
so if they approve the original plan, then there shouldn't be anything left to approve. Is what I think is what.
But
you're
I don't
saying.
think the
Yeah.
planning board
Not ours.
can break the zoning laws,
Well,
can
they
they?
already did. If
Well, I know, but I don't think they can. I don't think they have the authority to do that, do they? No,
They don't have authority to change those zoning bylaws. Of course not.
well, if that's what they're going to say, I don't know if it's just going to get they would game of ping pong here going back and forth. So
Call, yeah, sure. What that was his name? The lawyer,
oh
give him a call,
yeah,
see what his opinion is, tell him, we feel that they're bouncing it here just to get off their table and between their hands and,
mhm.
you know.
Okay, well, I'll ask to see what, the where it is in the bylaws that says that they can't do that.
Exactly,
Right,
because that ain't one by theirs.
okay. All right,
Just passing the buck.
anything else? No, you want to have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
just, and this is Doug Moglen, 5 Hidden Place. How are you?
oh, good, Doug.
So I had my hand up, but I guess it's hard to see on the screen.
I don't see, I see your name, but I don't see your.
I just turned it off. Anyway, I think that there's actually a similarity between the two scenarios that were presented tonight. And I agree with what you said in the first hearing, that each board has their own kind of swim lane that they kind of exist in. And there's no need, not a requirement under the law for somebody to apply to Board of Appeals and then Conservation and the Planning Board in one packet, right? Because a lot of the decision-making process may be determined by the board whose authority and responsibility lies. So for example, if you didn't grant a variance that they need to do a design, well, why bother to go to conservation with something predicated on receiving a Board of Appeals variance? And why go to the planning board with a plan that's assumed you're going to get conservation approval when you may not? So a lot of people go step by step by step. So they'll go to appeals to get the lot dimensions, then they'll go to conservation to get any wetland approvals that they need, and then take a plan that's approvable to the planning board.
Yep.
Correct,
And go-
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I agree with 100% of what you said. If there's advice being put forth that's contrary to that, we probably need to talk to those people and make, because the public coming in doesn't always know, and to give them bad advice can result in a lengthy delay and or tremendous added cost to someone that has to say redesign something coming out of a conservation hearing because conservation makes a finding and they have gone forth with a lot of design work and now it's all blown up and has to be redone again. The other piece on this common drive, I do agree that it seems to me that this should have been a modification to the subdivision approval rather than to come back in front of the zoning board of appeals at this juncture. Yes, and yes, you're right. There is a math problem with the bylaw that probably needs to be corrected at a future town meeting. But when they approved when I was on the planning board, we always felt that we could never approve a plan that was contrary to zoning. So if you needed to come in front, if you needed a dimensional variance, you came to the Board of Appeals. You could open your planning board hearing, but they couldn't grant the permit to a plan that didn't comply to zoning in the first place. So if someone needed a variance setback, you know, or rear lot line setback variance to zoning, planning board couldn't issue that permit and say contingent on getting a ZBA relief. You would get ZBA relief either in parallel, but before the planning board would issue their permit, or even way beforehand. If your whole building design or project design depended on a 5-foot setback variance, well, don't bother laying it out and just come in front of the ZBA with a rough block diagram and say, okay, this is why we need this 5 feet here. So I think that this one's kind of odd in that the house is already built and now they're coming for a dimensional variance against a subdivision approval that are not accepted ways yet, even in the town of Southwick. This subdivision should be probably, may need to get modified. I don't know. But that's, you and Goddard and Beg Lane probably should put your heads together and figure out what's the best course of action at this point on that.
Right, because about a year ago, we kind of had the same gentleman before us, and because somehow a foundation got put in the wrong place.
Yep.
So, it was a mistake by it was three or four cascading mistakes.
Yeah,
and we
I
got-
remember that one, that the future homeowner called me in distress. I actually happen to know that one. Yes, I'm familiar.
So it's kind of thrown over here to fix the problem, through the Board of Appeals, which we did. It was a pretty severe situation. So to have something else come here and then just to come to us to fix a math mistake just doesn't seem to be this doesn't seem to be the correct way to do it. But I'll get together with John Goddard
Big Lane.
and Mark Beg Lane and ask if the opinion, if the position that we seem to be agreed upon here is the correct, or is the best course of action.
Sure. But I think the important takeaway from that I've always tried to focus on is the swim lane, right? Where each board and commission has their authority and responsibility. And yeah, there's often times where there's overlap, like I just said, the planning board can't issue a plan that's contrary to zoning. They have to come to the zoning board of appeals if they want relief from zoning, feet and inches. Just like the planning board can't give somebody the right to do something in a wetland. That's subject to the Conservation Commission. Conservation can't tell someone, something that's outside of the wetland that they need to do something if it's not subject to their jurisdiction. But that's why the process sometimes can be stepped. It doesn't have to be simultaneous. And, and just the advice that we're given to folks, we should be careful whether it's, Mr. Hamlin or a resident or anyone else, that we're giving everybody solid advice as to, the best way for someone to approach any given board, right? Because I'm sure Mr. Hamlin tonight is probably a little confounded. It's like, oh, they told me to come here, you're telling me to go there, and we're pointing our fingers at each other. So.
Yeah, I understand. You mentioned the phrase an amendment to the initial plan or the initial subdivision or something like that. Is that a real process that exists, that they could make an amendment to that initial plan and fix the mistake that way?
It's a modification to the subdivision, and that would be actually this is Doug Moglen's opinion only, right? Is probably the most straightforward way to correct. The most straightforward way to correct a deficiency in a subdivision plan that hasn't been accepted as a town way yet. So it's still a project. And if it needs, a lot line needs to move 2 feet in one direction or another direction or whatever to make up the right distances, well, then there you go. That's my opinion. I see Mr. Phelps is on as well. He's the vice chair of the planning board and has been doing this even longer than I, but that's one way to clear up something like this where this looks to be like an error in the plan itself and it escaped scrutiny until now, but now it needs to be fixed. I've seen people do A&Rs or something like that. Maybe that's even possible. But I don't think you can do an A&R on an unaccepted street because you don't have technically access until the road is accepted by the town. That's a beg lane question above my pay grade, but you start to split hairs on approval not required under subdivision control law, when the whole thing is subject to subdivision control law. You've got a 20-lot subdivision going over there. So how do you do something that's not subject to subdivision control law, correcting something as part of a subdivision plan? I don't know. But I think a modification is a straightforward way. It requires notification of abutters and a public hearing and everything else, but that's how you do it.
Okay,
Yeah, I concur. That's what I hinted at one point in our discussion, was that they should change those boundary lines. So,
all right,
Yeah.
thanks for your opinion, Doug. It's very helpful to just to decide on who to ask the questions of and which direction to try to push them into.
Right.
Hello, Marcus Phelps here,
Whoa.
Vice Chairman of the Planning Board. I would agree you need to discuss this with Mr. Goddard, Mr. Beglane, and also Mr. Doherty, who's the Chairman of the Planning Board. We discussed this at great length at the meeting where we did finally make this decision. And it was not easy. And Mr. Doherty has, of course, his legal opinions since he is an attorney. And he was seeing the fact that we could waive the width of the driveway, but we could not offer relief as far as the dimensional situation. And so that's why it's come over to the Board of Appeals. And I certainly, would respect your opinions, and hopefully something could be worked out. There are options, as Mr. Moglen said, we could modify the subdivision, which would be a lengthy process, probably a couple months, I would expect, based on my experience as that process. And there may be other ways to access the lots other than a common driveway, but I don't know that that's been explored. Anyway, I would encourage involvement of Mr. Doherty, since he was sort of the leader of the discussion, and that's the way we ended up on the decision. So appreciate your help in any way, but we have to do what's right. Thank you.
When is your next meeting?
Our next meeting is on the 29th of November, so it'd be the day after your meeting.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for chiming in on with your opinion. And adding Mike Doherty's name into the cast of people that need to be brought in on this. I will see what I can do to further discussion along. Anything else? No. Anybody else on Zoom land? No?
seems like I like that.
Okay, I think we had a motion to adjourn and we had a second.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Let's get out of here.
Meeting is adjourned of the zoning